القاتل ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما ثم ما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله جل وعلا في علاه خير هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها فإن كل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار وبعد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. مساكم الله خيرا وأهلا وسهلا ومرحبا بكم. جزاكم الله كل خيرا. Today, inshallah ta'ala, the first thing I want to, after I ask Allah to bless this gathering, وينفعنا بما علمتنا ولمتنا بما ينفعنا, to teach us what we can comprehend, that we can benefit from, and to benefit us, allow us to benefit from what we learn. تزكي أنفسنا وتقواها تزكي تقوانا وأنفسنا وأنت خير من زكاها أنت وليها ومولاها. And to give our souls the top of the piety, to purify them. You're the best one and the only one to purify souls. You are the guardian of it, and you are its maintainer. Ya Rabbal Alameen. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that sincerely, with ikhlas, with sidq. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from us. Ameen. Tomorrow, we want to start a little bit earlier. I don't know what I was thinking about when I made the schedule. Traveling back, traffic is going to be heavy tomorrow. Everybody's going to be traveling on the road. And to get back, to leave at 9, that may be difficult. So can we start tomorrow at 2 o'clock?
Sure.
Yeah, and then we'll go from 2 to 6. And we'll eat within that time period. And those people have the hotels, try to get late checkout. They normally give you the latest checkout is 1 o'clock. By the time you get your luggage and mosey around and get here, we'll pray at 1:30 and then we'll start. I think that's better. What do you think, Shaikh?
That's better. That's better. Yeah.
That
sounds makes a lot of sense.
I make mistakes as well. Inshallah ta'ala, the topic is very relevant. Brothers and sisters should take notes. You should take some kind of notes, writing. After you hear the point, don't try to write everything right away because you're going to miss the benefit. Listen, and then it will be repeated so you can take a note and or audio, whatever, because we want you to take this with you when you go so you can benefit. We don't want you to just sit. It sounds good, it's spiritual, and you, Allah, like you're in church, and then when you leave, you have no benefit. So, try to do that as best as possible. What time is it now?
It is now 6:09.
Today we're going to start, and then we'll take a break. As far as the food area, nobody going there getting juice and drinks because it's being set up, so it's not ready for service. The buffet, once it's ready, Shaikh, she'll let y'all know. Then you can serve yourself, and we'll eat at that point. So I'm going to let our brother Abdullaah, Aaaliyyah, the Mount Battle, go first. An esteemed guest. I can't give an introduction because he's next to me. It wouldn't be right. And if I, say this and that, it's like a praise. You know what I'm saying? And this not right in Islam, but I have to give you some backdrop. because Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala said to our Nabi Sallallahu وَكَذَلِكَ نُقُصُّ عَلَيْكَ مِنْ أَنْبَاءِ رُسُلٍ مَا يُثَبِّتْ بِهِ فُؤَادَكَ. And likewise, O Muhammad, I'm narrating the stories of the past prophets and messengers to you, so that from their stories you can get some upliftment, some strength in order to carry your mission. It can inspire you. The people before you had these trials, tests, and success, so you want to be a person that gives up and disappoints yourself in the test of Allah. You can be fortified. And many scholars said this also, we learn from this ayah, that you should read the introduction of the author of the book so you can appreciate his works. So that you can appreciate his works, knowing something about him. So, I mean, not that bad from this perspective. This is our brother, as they say, a convert or a revert, whichever term you like. 30-plus year relationship. We come from the same community in East Orange, New Jersey. And like Hudayfa bin Yaman said, كنا في جاهلية وشر وجعل الله على خير. We were in disbelief and ignorance, and then Allah brought us this good, which is Islam. Alhamdulillah. We thank Allah. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided us from kufr and shirk to Islam. Allah. وسمع إمام أحمد رجل قال الحمد لله الذي هدانا الإسلام قال وقل سنة. And Imam Ahmed, he heard a man say, praise be to Allah who guided me to Islam. Imam Ahmed said, and don't forget, add and say, and sunnah. It's a ni'mah to Allah Azza wa Jalla, that he guided us from where we came from to Islam. And moreover, we still Muslim, because some people were guided back with us and they left Islam. Some people were guided with us back then, in the late 80s and 90s, but they strung out on drugs. Some people were guided back then with us in the late 80s and 90s, but they left from the Sunnah to all type of groups, spirituality. So we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is one of the first times that you're going to see two people come from the same community, same demographic, same ethnic background, and we both studied some in Yemen. Wallahi alhamd. We both studied some in Yemen. And we're doing something together. We're too busy fighting, too busy arguing, too busy pulling this one down. So for me, this is a tremendous grace from Allah and honor to have him sit next to me, and I'm sure he echoes and reflects the same thing, because this is surely a ni'mah from Allah. And we're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us real brothers in the religion, keep us, maintain our loyalty to one another as Muslims, and moreover our loyalty to Allah as a wajal, to his book, to his Nabi, sallam, and to the Muslim leaders and the common folk, kama qala Nabi sallam, ad-din al-nasiha, that the religion is that you aid. And they said, liman ya Rasulullah, qala lillah, he said to Allah, give an aid to Allah, meaning his deen, or the kitabihi, and to his book, the Quran, learn it, practice it, believe it, defend it. وَلِرَسُولِهِ, to the sunnah of the Messenger sallam, وَأَئِمَّةُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ وَعَامَّتِهِمْ, and to the leaders you give advice, and you have a role to the common folk. وَنَسْأَلُ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى وَفَقَنَا لِمَا يُحِبُّ اللَّهُ وَيَرْضَاهُ فَلْيَتَفَضَّلْ يعني جزاكم الله خير.
Alhamdulillah. نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. All praises belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We praise Him, we seek His assistance, and we seek His forgiveness, and we seek refuge in Allah from the evil of our souls and from the evil of our bad deeds. Whomever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides, no one can lead astray. And whomever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala leads astray, there's absolutely no one or nothing that can guide him. And I testify to the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is alone without any partners, and that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is Allah's servant and His messenger. And as for what follows, verily the best speech is the Quran, and the best guidance is the guidance of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And the evilest of things in our religion are all innovative matters. All innovative matters are bid'ah, and all bid'ah is misguidance, and all misguidance leads to the fire. Today, brothers, we want to talk about a very important topic that relates to everybody globally.
Okay, now stop. You can give me my mic back. That was for brotherhood and friendship. Now use your own mic.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. So now we talk about this topic that's affecting everyone, and no one is exempt from it in any age bracket, any gender, male or female, or any ethnicity group. And that is the dangers and harms of social media and what it has done to the people. But the first thing I want to begin with is, when it comes to seeking knowledge, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, وَقُلْ رَبِّي زِدْنِي عِلْمًا. He told Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and say, my Lord, increase me in knowledge. He didn't ask for the increase of anything other than knowledge. And this shows an importance and a status that one who carries knowledge, what rank he has. If we look at a social system of today, like when one is titled doctor, whether he's a PhD in physics, engineering, chemistry, whatever, but having that prestigious title next to his name, people look at him in a different way. And certain perks come with that. But when it looks in regards to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, religion, then He's able to teach those who don't know. He's able to convey a message to guide the misguidance with the success of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the first thing we begin with is the difference of a student of knowledge and a student of the internet, because unfortunately many people have become students of the internet, meaning they go and get these bite-sized reels, 1 minute, 2 minute clips, and think that they're gaining something, but missing out on the real social interaction of sitting at the feet of a learned person. So it's like if you were to put a robot in front of you, and he would just give you something, but without soul. It would just be black and white. You wouldn't be able to really interact. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, after mentioning that ayah, he said, ask Allah for beneficial knowledge and seek refuge with Allah from knowledge that is no benefit. And this is specifically said in the Adhkar Salahi, the morning supplications. When it comes to being a student of knowledge, he begins with manners and learning the etiquettes of being a student. When it comes to manners, they should be learned directly from an individual, from a person. And even though we have numerous books that describe the way a Muslim should interact with others, but learning by practical experience is always the best key. The first practice that any student needs to acquire and understand is learning Islam is worship, ibadah. So since it's worship, it has two conditions. Who knows what are the two conditions for the acceptance of any act of worship? What are the two conditions? I'll tell you, I'll give you a hint. One is the first hadith in the 40 hadith. And the first hadith in Bukhari, which one is that?
Intention.
Actions are by intentions. Exactly. And what's the second condition for the acceptance?
Conforms to the sin.
Huh? Conformity to the sunnah. Ahsan. So this is the first thing that a person has to begin with.
The
So-
sunnah or sunnah?
Sunnah.
Not sunnah.
No. The first condition for the acceptance of worship is sincerity, along with the way the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did it. Being a student of knowledge, then rising to the rank of a scholar is a risky issue. The scholar is among the first people to be placed in the fire on the day of judgment. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the first people against whom judgment will be pronounced on the day of resurrection will be a man who died a martyr. He'll be brought, and Allah will make it known to him his favors, and he will recognize them. Then Allah will say, "What did you do about them?" He said, "I fought for you until I died a martyr." And Allah will say, "You have lied. You did but fight, but that was so it could be said, you were courageous." And when it comes down to the one who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed to gain some information, he'll be said that you study religious knowledge, and he's taught it, and he's to recite the Quran. Then Allah will bring him and will make it known to him his favors, and the man recognizes. And Allah asked him, "What did you do about this?" He said, "I studied religious knowledge, and I taught it, and I recited the Quran for your sake." Allah will tell him that you have lied. You did but study, but you studied so that it will be said he's a learned person. Then after that, he will be ordered to be dragged on his face until he is cast into the hellfire.
فقال يعني فقد قيل بين على أن ولكل امرئ ما نوى. قال فقد قيل هكذا. And it was said to you, you got what you saw.
So you got what you said, yeah.
النقطة مهمة.
It will be said in the passive tense. You got exactly what you wanted. So, for us being seekers of knowledge, myself and all of us in this room today, brothers and sisters upstairs, then we have to follow the way of the Salaf, the righteous predecessors from the first 3 generations. Because those are the ones whom the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam praised. He gave tazkiyah to them. When you look at the generation today, I believe we're up to Gen Alpha, but you have Gen Z, Gen X, Millennials, and so forth. You see the differentiations in the way that they behave and the way that they act, because they're so far away from what? The methodology of the Salaf. This is why it's very important, because in contrast, the Salaf were the closest to the Prophet. And look how far we are from Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So shattering their path and knowledge and actions in every aspect of our religion is a must. There are some people, my brothers and sisters, who follow the Salaf in some things, but not in others. And this is incorrect. So by abandoning the actions of the Salaf in this way, misguidance is bound to befall a person, any individual. No one's exempt. How did they begin learning their religion? You know, Imam Ahmad, rahimahullah, he wanted to go see a great scholar. And now we have, information at our fingertips. We're going to get to that point, how to benefit from it. He walked over to see, it was a scholar in Yemen by the name of Abdullaah al-Sun'ani. He has a famous book known as the Musannaf. And on the way, Imam Ahmad, he left out from Baghdad on his way to seek knowledge from him. They just hear a hadith. They said that, he passed away. Imam Ahmad said, turned around, didn't even pursue it. But yet he made the effort to go and learn. Yet today, when there's an opportunity for us to go and learn, we say, what? I'll catch it later on Facebook. I'll catch it later on the ground. He went walking. And now, today, people return and resort to the easiest methods of getting knowledge. And they become lazy. So the first point is starting off and seeking knowledge the way that the Salaf did. And that's with coming back to the masjids. Coming back to the masjids. back when me and Pasha was in East Orange in our masjid, there were 3 classes a day sometimes. There was one definitely Friday night between Maghrib and Isha, and that even sometimes went over after Isha. There were classes weekly, after Asr, after Maghrib, and after Isha might have been just Q&A, but people had the attention span. One point with social media is that it has decreased our attention spans. We are unable to keep focus on one task at hand for a certain period of time because we're constantly distracted. Or we think that we're missing out on something. We think that we're missing out on something. So we go back to the first point, is coming to the masjid, going to the people of knowledge, holding classes, and learning together. So, if a person follows this way, then inshallah he'll be successful. As learning this knowledge, we have to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because the more you know, it can be for you or against you if you don't act by it. It's not just mere information. So the student of knowledge must learn to be patient and endure the harms from others and submit to the truth from any direction that it comes to him. The seeker of knowledge must maintain integrity and manliness while avoiding all types of manners which aren't suitable for him. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for good character. You know what I mean? So when we look at the other side now, we have to be careful too who we choose as friends. Now sometimes people might send requests to your account on your socials. There's no harm accepting those acceptance from friends who might say something, but before you want to befriend them, instead of letting them just merely follow you, you have to look to what exactly they like, or what do they share. Just a quick glance will give you an idea of that. Because the student of knowledge has to be on alert when choosing friends. He should choose those who help him in his quest for knowledge and uphold obedience to Allah. That's the best friend you can have. And I'll tell you, wallahi billahi thumma tillahi, in this day and time that is few and far in between, to find someone who's going to really tell you how it is rather than just to stroke your ego. And this is one of the harms of social media, is that people post things and oftentimes they go back to those posts to see how many likes they have, when the likes should be more important from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepting the deed. That should be the most important thing. As I tell all the people all the time, it's not always the crowd, but the attendance. Meaning right now, there's brothers in this room, but there's also malaika and jinn. You understand? So it's not always the crowd, the numbers, but the attendance. So he should choose those who help him in his quest for knowledge and uphold obedience to Allah. Now when we talk about the student of the internet and social media, you find that this person becomes rude, hateful, and he thinks that he knows something because he might have heard something that sounded good, or he was able to defend an argument. And this is the thing with social media, there are no barriers. There are no barriers because you're hiding behind a screen. So the student of the internet, he doesn't have Islamic manners generally. And when interacting with others outside of the virtual world, he's unable to do so properly because he's on the screen. This is why you see the youth today have little regard and respect for the elders, the OGs as we call them. Because if he's following you on social media, he doesn't see you physically, or she doesn't see you physically, who you are, your age, your condition, or really know what you have. But social media has given a voice to anyone and everyone. So you find that they're very rude on the web and off the web. And the student of the internet, one of the things that you find many people when conversing with another Muslim, even on the net, is they don't begin with salams, they go right to the conversation. the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in an authentic hadith, كما صححه الألباني رحمه الله, he said that whoever begins a question before giving salam, then don't respond to him. Don't respond to him. And that's one thing that I hold firm. If someone asks me a question when I give a salam, I won't respond. I'll just ignore it. Keep it going. You don't have enough respect to even say assalamu alaikum. Just a question right in my inbox. No salam, no bismillah, no basmillah, nothing. So we have to start with assalamu alaikum. And spreading salams is dua. The student of the internet too, you notice they struggle with sincerity because, like I said, it's a generation of instant gratification. Getting those likes, getting those followers. You know? And subscriptions. So he enjoys writing posts sometimes with others to share and like on social media. The student of the internet is unable to remain quiet. He loves joining forums, WhatsApp chat rooms. They have sometimes these groups, these chat. This is another distraction being added to these groups. And people just share and share and share. And sometimes many of you can probably relate to this point that you have a friend who you might not have spoken to. Like he might not have called you and said, Assalamu alaikum, Muhammad, how are you doing? Assalamu alaikum, Abdullaah, how are you doing? But yet, time after time, he sends you reels. Where's the fa'idah in that? Where's the alaqa? Where's the ta'akhi? Where's the brothership? Just call and say, Assalamu alaikum. Have you seen this? Introduce it like, present it if you want to share something, but put some spirit in it. Some humanity. But no, they just, reel after reel after reel after reel. Wasting your time, stuff that you might have already seen. Or you're just not interested in seeing that right now. You might have a different purpose on the internet. His purpose on the internet might be, he's trying to lose weight, so he's specifically focusing on just following a few influencers about weight loss. He wants to gain weight. He wants to study for computer technology. Or he specifically want to join the Quran forum, or whatever the case may be. But to bombard people with reels. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that from the signs of Iman is that a person removes something harmful, what? Out of the path. The opposite, as we say in Usul al-Fiqh, mafhum al-mukhalifa, mafhum. To put something harmful in the path is just as bad, right? So if we're their shoes right now in this path, and we know our Imam is unable to see, and you don't take that into consideration, he slips and gets hurt. Hashalillah, may Allah forbid. But what about if a person came in the masjid right now and saw that shoes, because the brother was in a rush. He didn't intentionally mean to do it, but yet he did it. But yet a person comes and removes his shoes, he gets the hasanat, right? So the point here is that putting something harmful in your brother's path can result in you getting a sin. So imagine putting something, in your brother's path that causes him to waste the most valuable thing that you and I all have. What is the most valuable thing we have? Time. What? So you're wasting my time. You understand? You're wasting my time. I'll tell you guys a story. One time I was on Umrah in 2001 or 2. No, it was 2002. And we were on a trip to seek knowledge in Mecca. So as a brother came, he said, I want to go to the Shaikh house. I want to go to the Shaikh. I was like, but bro, we right now in a seminar, and it was intermission. I said, let's just go grab something to eat. So he insisted to go. So we went to the Sheikh's house, knocked on the door. His daughter says, go around back. The Sheikh comes out. You can tell he was busy, but he still wanted to host guests out of hospitality. So the guy who was with us, we didn't know him. He went and asked one question. The Sheikh asked him, are you here on Umrah? He said, yeah. He said, well, why don't you ask me questions on Umrah? Then he looked at me, he said, Anta fi dawra? Are you in the Islamic seminar? I said, I am. He said, Lishjit, why did you come? I said, he wanted to see you. So then the guy asked his question. The Sheikh asked him, did you read the book? He said, I did. He said, okay, it's the point number 1 in the book. So the Sheikh said, okay, untie it. So the guy was embarrassed. He was embarrassed at this point. So the Sheikh left and came back with 3 cans of Pepsi. And we're getting our shoes on, about to leave because the cab's here. He was like, where y'all going? We was like, oh, we see you busy, so we're leaving. He said, you came and wasted my time, and screamed at us. You came and wasted my time. Time is the most precious thing. So the second point is that value your time and what you share on the internet. That social interaction is important with real interaction. So the student of the internet, he struggles with sincerity. And like I said, he enjoys writing posts and sharing them. And these WhatsApp groups, he's involved in those. And the time he spends studying is way less than the actual time he spends on the internet bouncing from website to website to website. On the average, a study came out and said that people they look at their phones, pick them up and just look at them, an average of 150 times a day. 150 times a day. Now, when we get to the other article about the worldly menaces of surfing the internet, thoughtlessness and heedlessly coming up next, I want you to think about the time that a person spends on the internet. For now, just put that in your mind. So, bouncing from website to website, from Facebook page to another, and then sometimes people do it with ill intent, looking for slips and mistakes of every Muslim they can find, and then share that, on the internet. So, the student of the internet prefers to follow the majority of actions of others on social media instead of clinging to the methodology of the Salaf. Because it's about numbers on the internet. It's about subscriptions, it's about likes. That's why you see that the YouTubian influencers in the Dawah, that for them it's about the amount of likes and followers, that they do stuff that is going with the trend. You understand? So the student of the World Wide Web, he feels a sense of loneliness in the real world because he's engaged with the internet. Therefore, on the internet, he feels accepted. Why does he feel accepted? Because he has a sense of satisfaction once his post is shared and liked. And he's distanced. The student of the .net, .com, .org doesn't build his education on the foundation. The scholars say, من استعجل شيء قبل أوانه عوقب بحرمانه. That whoever hastens a thing before its time will lose out on it. ومن حرم أن الوصول حرم أن الوصول. That whoever is prohibited from having a foundation will be prohibited from reaching his goal. So there's no foundation. The first part of this lecture we get, brothers and sisters, is that there's no solid foundation that one gets from being a student on the internet unless you're in an online university. But I'm saying we gotta come back. We, myself included, we all have to come back to the masajid and go like how we are right now. Okay. Or if a person is reviewing some books on the internet, okay? Like sometimes you might prepare for a class, or you might want some notes, or you might be taking like some of the teachers, they have like these Islamic seminars online, 40 hadith, completed in 40 days and so forth. So if the person is doing that, then there's some benefit in that. But I'm saying having it unstructured. So what happens? Since he doesn't have a foundation, brothers and sisters, he fixes himself with browsing and surfing web pages to gain information on issues that cannot fully be grasped and understood without a foundation. A person one time shared something with me, and he wanted to ask me, was it real? Or was what the person was saying was authentic? The first thing to look at in those situations, if you yourself have to ask if anything is authentic from the person you're watching on the internet, you shouldn't be on his page. Ibn Sirin said that verily this knowledge is your religion, so look to whom you take your religion from. So the next point is having and gaining a foundation can only be done at the feet of a learned individual. No other way. You're not going to get a foundation on the internet bouncing from real to real. Now there's some reminders, like I said, you have, we'll look at it later on at Bid and that, but you have some people, how they have motivational speech coaches and life coaches and motivational speakers who give certain reminders that are benefit. But I'm talking about, does that really give you a foundation? It doesn't. Having a foundation is very important. So what happens basically is that a person listens and reads about issues and avoids learning principles. This is why you find people going from one extreme to the next, to the next, to the next, because they have no foundation. Anyone who has a foundation, then he's free from that.
هذه مثال يعني اللي لهم وصول يعني ومن لم لهم وصول.
Okay. For example, a person who has an usul, who has a foundation, he's able to look at the particular issue and understand it correctly. The person without the foundation, he's going to go with whatever his nafs, his desires that he find suit him. You know, as we used to say back in the day, fatwa shopping. And you know, there's a term, some people of knowledge don't accept it or reject it, but nonetheless, terminologies change and are invented with time as long as it doesn't affect the principle of religion, which is we say Google Shaikh, you know. People hit Google, and Google can give you a wealth of information, right? But now we're up to AI. So another example is that a person puts in a particular issue, and he gets 20 different websites. And unfortunately, people stumbling on websites that are run by Shia. Yeah, run by Shia. Because, you know, everything is expanded. And they have some hadith on there, which are fabricated. Because the Shia are not known to be from hadith. Not know the principles of hadith. What are the conditions of the acceptance or rejectance of hadith. Not knowing about the rijal, the minute, isnad, and so forth. So, this is what happens, not having a principle, not having a foundation, is that you're going to be going from one extreme to the next, and you accept whatever suits your desires. When you have a foundation, you're able to look at what is the stronger and favorable opinion, because you have that foundation, like usul al-fiqh, for example, knowing that the four things that are references in Islam for making a ruling starts with the Quran, the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the ijma', and then the qiyas, an analogy. And some scholars add to that, of course, based on a different madhab. But anyway, these are the basic four. Some add after the Sunnah. Imam Ahmed adds the statements of the Sahaba and so forth.
أشد من هذا بعض الكفار يعني يجعلون شبقات بستار لأنهم مسلمين.
Exactly. Oh, for sure. That's it. You know, you were saying that some people, you know what they have too? You have munafiqeen and kuffar, they set up traps on the internet and give misinformation. You know, so this is the dangers of it. The student of the internet, you know what else though? He takes pleasure in the freedom of speech that the internet provides. Right now, a person, or if anywhere, where you're going to find a study circle where a man is going to be willing to voice his opinion and argue with a learned person, face to face. But on the internet, gloves off. It's free, you know. You do it. Can even be a child. 6th grade, 7th grade. But no, I think it should be this way. Okay, what's your evidence? But the Shaykh, well, we know. Once again, I said Quran, Sunnah, Ijma', and Qiyas. The Shaykh said isn't a proof. Like in al-Ijma' is a proof. You know, some people say the Jumhur, the majority of scholars isn't a proof. Every Imam in the Madhab, as their Madhab grew, they went against the majority in certain masail, in certain issues. For example, Imam Ahmed went against the majority of scholars in regards to Salat al-Jama'ah. But his position is favorable that it is something that is wajib for men. It's a favorable position and strong. Imam Shawkani too on other issues about, Amir Sanani about reading Surah to the Ikhlas 3 times. And Imam Shawkani about sajda being an independent act of worship. So, This is why you need the foundation. And the freedom of speech that student of the internet gets. And as a result, he writes carelessly and is heedless that while he's writing, so are the angels. And as a consequence, his level of taqwa, God conscientiousness, becomes low. Other things you'll find, my brothers and sisters, is that the student of social media is an impatient and harms others in his fight to make others agree with his opinion. Because it's about having people who will side with you. You see? So all of this stuff that I'm talking about, you can see why certain people behave in the way they do outside of away from the internet. Okay? So they're impatient and harm others in their fight to make others agree with their opinions in their posts or in the views that they have. So that's for the student of the internet. What happens is that he enters and chimes in on forums, tweets, and messages where backbiting is practiced, and unfortunately he stays there long enough until his participation is recorded against him. You know, backbiting is one of those sins that you have to directly get the forgiveness of the person who you wronged with your tongue. It's not just tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if that isn't accepted from the individual, then you and him or her will settle that on the punter before or after you cross the sirat. So this is something serious. It's from the kabair, from the major sin. So now that we've talked about the student of the internet and we see the dangers, our last point I'm going to mention is that students of the internet, they normally don't choose reputable websites of a scholar to learn from. Now, if you wanted to take information from a particular website that you're going to learn and have that structured in yourself, I'm going to learn 40 hadith from Bin Baz or Uthaymin or Al-Albani or Shaykh Muqbil's website or Ibrahim or Muhammad Ali Sheikh or Saleh Ali Sheikh and so forth, then that could be a good thing. But these young people coming up today, fresh out the university, and some of them haven't even studied Islam in Islamic university, but yet they say things, they go with the crowd, and this has become very dangerous because there are a lot of social ills that are going on, and this weekend, inshallah, we'll be covering it. But you see, like, for example, Jordan Peterson was one of them. People ask me if they can take knowledge from him. First question I asked him, is he Muslim? Because he says something good and favorable of the LGBT. There was the drama and everyone was excited with Andrew Tate. Right? Everyone was excited. What's the big deal? Then, you know, you had these podcasters, Muslim, unfortunately, inviting them onto their podcast. And now you have rappers becoming Muslim or NBA. It's about fame and status. This is not important to us in our religion. When the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam reached out to call people to Islam, he addressed leaders, people who had real influence, who could influence their people. But these people today are only leading people further astray, and it's just become a social disaster. The student of the internet, like I said, he doesn't choose a reputable website of a scholar to learn from, but as a substitute, bookmarks, web pages that publish and share gossip and slander. If the student of the internet would visit from the senior scholars where their recordings of classes are hosted, then sat in the comfort of his house and listened to those audios taking notes, this would be much better. And the social media world is a double-edged sword, so now I'm giving you the solution for the first point. Now we come to the worldly menaces, which are spiritual and mental. What are some of the harms that you guys think mental health issues result from social media? Can anyone in here help me? What do you think some of the mental health issues that are there on the internet? One,
The inability to make a decision.
perfect. Inabilities to make decisions. Inabilities to make decisions. Anyone else? Anyone else? Anxiety, depression. You know why? Because people are comparing their lives to the lives of others, which is superficial. It's not real. Because reality is that people show you what they want you to see. People show you what they want you to see. No one is going to say, brothers won't even do it with their wives. Here, take my phone, look through it. Couple of minutes. Yeah. Suicide. Yeah, they're not going to do it. So another point he mentioned, another harm of the internet is, yes, suicide. And I see this working in the universities and school with students because of the cyber and bullying and harassment. I had a student come to my class one day, hysterically crying. I was like, what you crying for? He's going to roast me on the internet. I said, okay, and? But he has so many likes. He's just, he's real popular. And he in this school. I said, okay, 90%. I don't know what's best about the exact percentage. But just to show him the majority of the people who like and watch that video, you'll never meet them in life. Nor will they matter to the reality of your existence. So who cares? But cyberbullying, like you said, suicide and harassment. Another thing is addiction. Listen, social media, brothers, the dopamine that one feels from being the information overload, just having information at your fingertips at that speed, causes an addiction. And that addiction is stronger than cocaine. It's stronger than cocaine. I call them Instagram fiends. An Instagram fiend is one who goes from one post to the next to the post, and he can't get off Instagram. I advised certain people, after I was given good advice somewhere before, hearing it from a learned person, that what you want to do during the month of Ramadan is you want to disenable your apps. There's a way you can do it. Even now with the iPhones and stuff, you have ways where you can put, a timer. Only allow me 10 minutes a day on Instagram. So the addiction, and when you have an addiction on being online excessively, then it leads you to neglect real world, real life activities and relationships. Another point. People now with the internet language, in their marriages, in their relationships, probably rarely text I love you to the spouse they love or to their children. Instead, they send a heart. Right? They send a heart. Some people have even gone and to become even more dumbified, have lost the proper ability to communicate with real English. So they have like Wya, W-Y-A, where you at? Okay? Which is even proper grammatically. But anyway. Yeah.
Think got to.
Exactly.
Done that.
All of this. So you have this internet language. So the addiction is causing people to neglect real world activities and relationships. Another one is sleep problems. Screen time, especially before bed. It can interfere, my brothers and sisters, with your sleep patterns and the quality of sleep that you get. Some say 30 minutes. I'm saying a couple of hours. Get away from it. Let's try to do something tonight, and I'm with y'all in this, is before we go to bed, we're going to read Surah Al-Mulk. Who can tell me, why did I choose Surah Al-Mulk? What is the benefit of reading it before we go into bed tonight? Is there a reward for it? What happens if I die tonight? I'm protected from what? I'm here giving y'all may Allah increase us all, brother.
What number is Surah Al-Mulk? Mulk mean?
Okay. Number? Y'all know Surah Al-Mulk, right?
67.
67. 67? Okay. And what does mulk mean? He said he wants to know. Dominion. Exactly. So, think this is what we're going to do tonight, all right? This is my homework assignment and your homework assignment. Wallahu shahid. And Allah's the witness, okay? So this is what we're going to do. We're not going to look at Facebook before we're going to bed. We're going to read Surah tomorrow. That's our homework assignment. All right. So the hadith, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, as Abi Hurairah, what we say, وعن أبي هريرة رضي الله تعالى عنه, he reported that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, if anyone sits at a place where he does not remember Allah, deprivation will descend on him from Allah. And if he lies at a place where he does not remember Allah, deprivation will descend on him from Allah. So just take this hadith. Being deprived of what? He said general. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he used the word tibratun, deprivation. Being deprived of what? Intellect. Being deprived of time. It's general. You see? So the benefits in this hadith, it tells us what? That spending long times in places, and the World Wide Web is one of them. The internet is a false world that we made real. This dunya is an illusion. You know, it looks real, but yet the real world is the akhirah. You know? So this hadith serves as a warning against spending long periods of time heedlessly about Allah. So much so you had scholars that when they started, they put this hadith in their chapter headings, in their books that they collected. One of them was the punishment for being heedless about Allah. Another one put the manners for sitting down in the gathering. And another scholar put in the chapter heading, regularly remembering Allah. So this hadith, it also establishes that it's disliked to be neglectful about Allah, and to be constantly mindful of Allah is a recommended deed. And that includes sitting, standing, walking, and even lying down. And it supports this hadith that it's recommended for a person to remember Allah while sitting, and this includes gatherings. Once again, sitting in gatherings. Sitting in gatherings where Islam is being taught. And if a person sits in an online class for Islamic studies, then he isn't among the heedless. So we know when it comes to remembering Allah, what are the two ways of the dhikr of Allah? It's either with the tongue or the heart, right? And joining the dhikr of Allah by both the heart and the tongue is the most superior. However, if a person wants to choose one of these, then the scholars have said that remembering Allah by the heart is better. Leaving off the remembrances of Allah should only be done when one is relieving himself. Bilisan, exactly. With his tongue. This is why the Prophet ﷺ, when he left the bathroom, he said what? Kufranika. Okay. So yeah.
No, that's for the Shaikh. Yeah, that's your coffee.
Who? I mean,
Your coffee's in your hand, Shaikh.
but a monster?
No, he gave it for me. It's a drink.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So neglectfulness, you know what happens though? Being heedless about Allah, and also about the consequences and who had the solutions. Neglectfulness of Allah attracts Satan, and as a result, it makes Allah angry. You know? Heedlessness of Allah causes a person's heart to become full of worry, stress, and anxiety, and thus he becomes depressed. This is similar to how we find people who are constantly on social media for hours at a time, and when they log off those accounts, they're often anxious. Why? Because not only were they heedless about their Lord, but they were heedless about real life. There are, as a result of that, brothers and sisters, they are behind in real-time situations with the distance from Allah, being distant from Allah, equal to that time wasted. So just imagine if you're on the internet 2 hours without the dhikr of Allah included in that. How far are you going to be? That's 2 hours of your life that is gone, that's not coming back. Because as we said, the most precious thing that one has is what? Is time. And once it's gone, it doesn't come back. You know, the scholars say that time is like a sword. If you don't use it to your advantage, then it hurts you and harms you. Take advantage of the time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed al-asr. He swore by time. Time is the most precious thing that we have, and all of us are running out of it. Yeah, well, Hassan al-Basri said at Athar, he said, "O son of Adam, you are merely days, that every time a day passes, so does a part of you." So, this is what happens when you're on social media, on these accounts, and you're heedless about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thoughtlessness of Allah causes the servant to be detached from Allah, and thus fall into sins. An example of this, you have a person, he sits on the internet day in and day out, okay? And he's likely to end up sinning, while that might not have been his intention. But yet, while he's logged into social media, he might miss the prayer in his proper time. He might be led to indecent pop-ups and see things, reels or feeds, hearing misguidance. And as a result, he earns sins with his eyes, which adds stains to the heart. You see, so this point here is monitoring your time. This is the point, brothers, you write down and take. Monitoring your time on social media. Okay. Negligence of Allah and His Messenger weakens a person's relationship with Allah bit by bit while he doesn't even feel it. When a person abandons the dhikr of Allah, he falls into the traps of Shaikh, Satan. This takes place when a person wasting time on Snapchat, TikTok, and Instagram without doing anything beneficial or performing any acts of obedience. So once again, like I said, when we talk about the time, let's take, for example, a person who might spend an average, when you total it up, 8 hours a day on those accounts. So that means for every 3 days, he's not in the real world, because that totals 24 hours. Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, listen to this hadith. She said, "There isn't any hour that passes by the servant wherein he didn't remember Allah, except on the day of judgment he will regret it." Some of the Salaf said, every hour of a man's life will be displayed to him on the day of judgment, and he will criticize himself excessively for every moment he didn't remember Allah therein. Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyah said the extent of which a person is neglectful about Allah is the same extent to which he is distant from Him. So we adding up 8 hours every 3 days, that's 24. What happens when we add weeks to that, months? It totals years. I'm 50 years old. But imagine if you subtract the time that I've been sleeping this period of time, because this is what we are. We're days. We're hours. Our life. So you add that up. A person missing a year, 2 years out of his life in a world that really doesn't exist. So these words are serious, my brothers. We're going to close the first part. And the easiest way to understand that, like I say, is we look at the amount of time we are engaged. It's not unbelievable that some people sit in front of a computer surfing the net or from their phones for hours of a day, and we add that up, it can come up to 25% of their time while awake. You catch that? If we add it up, it's 25% of the time that you are awake. So the minute we calculate that figure, along with the required sleep that our body needs, the figure becomes even higher. So you see why we got to turn these things down and work. Mu'adh ibn Jabal said the only thing the people in paradise, now there's nothing you regret in paradise, we get to see Allah. May Allah make us from amongst the people of paradise, right? But he said the only thing the people in paradise sigh over are the hours that passed them by while they weren't remembering Allah. That's the regret. That's the regret. A person who spends large amounts of time, my brothers and sisters, inactive about Allah and His Messenger will become dull-witted and apathetic. he won't be able to function. ADHD, as they call it now, right? That's the term. But the Prophet said that deprivation will descend. He mentioned it. This is similar to how we find people whose attention span and ability to concentrate have decreased. Go out there and look at Gen Z and the millennials. Some of them, they're walking on their phones right in front of traffic. Can't put it down and look across in the street. So to curb some of these illnesses, because the salah time is coming in, or you want to finish? No, the salah. Okay.
It's another hour.
No. Okay. Last thing we have is to curb some of these illnesses. We need to first remember that we are accountable for our time and how we use it, brothers. This is the first solution. We come to the solutions now and we're done. So, we are accountable for our time. A man's feet, as the Prophet ﷺ said, will not move on the day of judgment until he is asked about his life and how he spent it. That's the first solution. 2, prioritizing things in our life and set goals. We have to have goals. We have to have goals. What are your goals in life? What do you want to do? What are you trying to be? Where are you trying to go? Ultimately, our end game to this end goal is Jannah. So let's work for that. But you have other things you're trying to achieve in this dunya. Work for them. This approach will keep you focused. And the last one, the dua that we say when leaving the house, it will be a good thing to say it before logging on to the internet. And this can help restrict some of the perils of social media. But this act shouldn't be taken as a sunnah. I'm not saying this is a sunnah. And that is the dua, oh Allah, I seek refuge in you, that I misguide others, or that I'm misguided by others, and that I cause others to err, or that others cause me to err, that I oppress others, or that others oppress me, and that I behave foolishly, or that I encourage the foolishness of others. This is all I want to say for this part. If there's anything that I said that's incorrect, it's from myself, and I hold full responsibility and ask Allah forgiveness for that. And anything that's correct and is attributed to Allah, His Messenger, I hold out and have this stuff for love to go.
I don't know if the buffet is open yet. Sure, let us know. But we want to take a break, inshallah. Any questions around the topic? We'll take a 10-minute break and then we'll come back for questions, inshallah.